stickers at Action Graphics in Altoona, Florida.
There we go.
And so I picked them up, and Dan Kerr had a car sitting out front for sale. And I don't ever spend money on me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy me a race car. So I bought Dan Kerr's race car.
And you're not married?
Nope.
So you got the money. You ain't got to, hey, honey, can I get it? No third degrey.
No.
You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I bought my car, and I brought it back over to Tampa. And Monez Motors and Mark Monez and Vernon and Ronnie Bennett and Cecil Martin and John Yates have been phenomenal.
I just queue up some music in the background. This is a phenomenal story here.
So we decided we were going to make a couple changes. Well, every time we turned around, there was more and more things being cut off of the car. So
okay.
Now Switzerland is what her name is. My car is ready to go, and we are going to debut it again. We raced one race at East Bay this past year.
Right.
And we practiced here at BRP one time. And so the 9th of March will be our first race at East Bay Raceway Park.
There you go.
So we've picked up Q Auto as our sponsor, and we also have Creative Power. We have Daytona Sportswear, and Bubba Raceway Park is kind enough to sponsor us as well, and Sunoco Race Fuels. So we're fortunate with
Racking them up. We are. Hey, so talk about the role of being a promoter or being general manager, working with the egos of like Bubba the Love Sponge, a.k.a. Bubba Clem, here at the racetrack, or Tom and Ken, and you know, being a promoter yourself with Dirts for Racing. Is there ever a time where you say to these guys, hey, look, maybe we need to do it this way instead of doing it this way? Maybe your mindset is you're not thinking outside the box. And as a promoter, why do you guys come up with so many different alternatives for Speed Weeks? It's not just late models. It's not just, modifieds or sprint cars. It's a genre of everything that Speed Weeks provides.
I would love to say that I could take credit for a lot of that, but Tom Bean and Bubba and Ken have worked really hard at this place for 8 years, and they don't get the credit they're due.
Right.
And it's funny because I bought the Florida Mini Sprint out 3 years ago when their car count was kind of suffering. They had everybody had tried, and I think the biggest problem they had was it was always a driver that was running it. And so at some point there's always that favoritism, or somebody assumes there's something happening that's not really happening.
Yeah, didn't the Moss family run it at one time? And then, of course, the Moss family has like 8 cars.
Right, and then the Crowders ran it, and John Craddock and Jesse Teed ran it. I mean, they all did a phenomenal job. That is the longest-running mini sprint series. I mean, they literally blood, sweat, and tears. There's not one of them that doesn't love that series.
Right, absolutely. And even in their absence of not running it anymore, they still support you and do what they do.
They are at every race. They are at every race. And there's times, don't get me wrong, we're like a family. There's times that we might not all get along.
Right.
But they show up. And they race, and they love to race. And if you want to see a passionate group of people that like racing, go watch those mini sprints. Because as you saw, the midgets ran at Hendry County this past weekend.
Yes, they did, yeah.
Well, the mini sprints were running up at Southern, so half of them went to Southern. The other half of them went down and supported the midget class down at Hendry County.
Right.
Those people like to race. They don't care where they're racing. If there's a race and they can load up and go, they're going. So, and that's...
there's a rumor going around that the Tomato Can clan are afraid to race topless with the wings. They're afraid to race without the wings.
Robbie Hoffman dominates in any wing or non-wing. He is phenomenal in a mini sprint. And Dirk actually had a great weekend at Southern. He won.
Yeah.
And he hadn't been
Robbie
that far.
Hoffman won a race too. So.
Yep. And David Hall was second. So, and actually last year, not this year, the year before that, they were 1, 2, and 3 in my points.
And if I remember correctly, didn't Dirk Miller have a surgery and he had to step out of the race car for a while?
He's had cancer twice.
Wow.
And so that he, and him and I have actually gone back and forth a couple times, but I've come to realize that some of the people that you'll see us go back and forth, it's because we're passionate. Like Pete Walton and I have done that a couple times, and I think it's literally because they love it so much,
right?
And we put so much into it. You're in that moment, and you're like, no, it's like this is the way it has to be. This is why I'm doing it, and your heart is so much in it that you don't take that step back and go, okay, maybe, let's just compromise. Let's think about it, and this is what's better for everybody. So when you're in that moment, though, that doesn't always happen. And you had asked about the 3, gentlemen that I get to work with here. And to be honest, when I was here, I had the Florida Mini Sprint visiting here quite a bit, and my street stocks. They gave us a chance to run here with our street stock series, and we were here, and Lisa had done a great job, and she had said that she was moving on. And so, you know, I had no intentions of working here. I have my insurance business, and I got kids, and I got my series and stuff. And I actually, I had my mini sprints here, and I had actually gotten into it once with Bubba, and we went back and forth a little bit. And so I was upset with him. He was upset with me, and you know, and we were both wrong. And later that came to be, but you know, it was funny. We left on good terms that night, and I was like, you know, we were both just frustrated.
You had a big falling out. You had words, but at the end of the day, you shook hands, hugged each other's necks, and said, "Hey, we're good. Let's, you know."
So I went up to George, and I went hunting, and Bubba called me and asked me what I thought about coming to work at Bubba Raceway Park. And I was like, I don't know. I'd have to think about that, because that's a huge undertaking. It's not like just something, you know, you overnight go, yeah, I'm going to do that.
And we've known each other for about 4 years. And you even texted me and like, hey, what do you think of this? And
yeah,
I'm like,
it was a huge decision. It's a huge decision. And it's like, you know, everybody's like, you're going to get your own sandbox. Go for it. And I'm like, but at the end of the day, I also didn't want to disappoint people that were giving me an absolutely huge opportunity. And
right.
And we sat down and we had a conversation, and literally, Tom, Bubba, and Ken have supported me 120%. There's been lots of people that have tried to, you know, backdoor things, or they go around me, and it was
slander
funny.
You.
Oh yeah, and at the banquet, at last year's banquet, it was funny. Bubba got up there and he's like, "If you have a question, call Candy. If you need something, call Candy. If you are mad about something, call Candy. If you'd like to do something, call Candy." You know, and so they have literally supported me in everything that I've wanted to do.
It's the old cliche of if you got something to bitch or gripe about, take it up with Candice Keeley.
Correct.
If you want to praise or give kudos about something, you know, give Candice credit, but you know, then you can come and talk to me.
Well, actually, they've been really, really supportive, and you know, it's funny because
and they let you run this place. I mean, like, I've literally been here off and on for the speed weeks, and they literally let you run the asylum. I mean, I've
learned a lot. You know, when I was at the other track, I didn't do the food ordering, I didn't run the bar part, I didn't have a lot of that stuff, and Tom has been really good at breaking that stuff down for me. You know, I now know how much food I need to order for how many people are going to be here, and you know, why we get this kind of food instead of that food, and you know, why we price things at a certain time, or you know, we do free grandstands on this night because this is what it's going to do long term for our grandstands.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things that they have spent the time to teach me. I mean, I didn't know how to run all this equipment when I first got here. Ken is actually very good at all of that, and so he taught my daughter Erin one day how to run the skidster. It was the coolest thing to watch. And you know, and Bubba and my kids go out and they pick the rocks, and they spend time with our kids, and you know, they literally have bent over backwards to make me feel at home here.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously, this is a radio podcast on Fox Sports Radio and Community Radio Network, iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio, tuned in. But to paint a picture, the last time you were here for Speed Weeks was with the USAC Ames Oil Championship Sprint Cars, and there's literally a picture of you, and this is when you're freaking sick as a dog. You're on the skidster in the middle of the infield.
Yeah, there was
and the photographers were just going crazy.
They couldn't believe I could run the equipment. It was literally,
yes.
I thought somebody wrecked. I stopped
and
the
you felt
skidster.
like shit, and you're on the skidster in the infield trying to clean the track off in the middle of the infield.
The X had developed like a little puddle, and so the USAC was worried when the sprint cars were qualifying that it would become a problem and the push trucks would have an issue. So Bubba was working on the track, and Elwood was working on the track, and Billy was helping. So I'm like, you know, I hopped on the skidster and I'm starting to flatten it out. And literally, I thought somebody wrecked. I thought one of our pieces of equipment got stuck.
No, me and Joe Kelly were hyping you up.
And I'm like, and all of a sudden I realized, like, there's a line of people in the opening of the track. All the photographers are facing me and they're taking these photos. And I'm going, it's green. It runs on diesel. The bucket goes up and down. Like I couldn't wrap my head around why everybody was in such shock that I was a female running a skidster. You know, I'm like, there's a lot of women that actually run heavy equipment and they're very good at it.
That's me and Joe Kelly's fault. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We'll take blame for that.
It's okay. But it was quite entertaining. I was like, I was kind of taken back at the fact that I don't think people realize how much goes in.
Right.
To getting ready for racing.
Absolutely.
And then,
I wish that people would be able to just look outside the box. Or I wish, you know, maybe somebody should do a documentary of this is what it takes to do a race weekend. Hell, that might be something I could do. We have the video equipment today to do it.
Well, and what's funny is
just you do everything in segments or podcasts, and I mean,
there's months of prepping that goes into a race. It's not like you just put a race on that week, or Wednesday rolls around, you're like, I'm going to add
Let's do it.
Thunderstocks.
Yeah.
You know,
by the way, Thunderstock's 1,000 to win on March 30th. I've seen social media blow up about that.
And
that's pretty good.
Actually, David Mills, that's here at the racetrack, our CEO, our Center of Entertainment Officer. It is his birthday, so it is the second annual 2,000 to win open wheel modified for David Mills' birthday. And so then Tom said, let's make it a big deal for the Thunderstocks. And it was actually his idea to do 1,000 to win for the Thunderstocks.
Breaking news. This is breaking news. The 4th annual Durance Lane Street Stock World Championship is going from Cochran, Georgia, and it will once again be at Cochran Motor Speedway. So that race will be returning to Cochran, Georgia, December 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Awesome. And Adam and Chance are on their way here, actually, as we speak. I talked to them this morning via text messages. So
cool deal. Safe travels to those guys.
They were headed down to join us, and this is the first ever joint show we've done with the Street Stock Series, so I'm excited to see that work. I've worked with Adam. I saw him up at Why Not during the Street Stock Nationals and stuff, and they were here last year, of course, and I got to see
Adam Stewart is probably one of the, not only because he's a redhead and he can lose his temper, but he is probably one of the best race directors I've ever seen.
He is on point.
Calm, cool, collective until you piss him off, and then he can speak his mind. But with that being said, he'll treat you fair. He'll treat you right until you cross his line. Definitely.
And I watched him when he was at Why Not, and I watched him while he was here with the late models, and I love to watch people succeed, and I really like to enjoy, like, when you say I meet the people and I go out and I talk to the drivers and stuff. It's fun to watch them when, like, they first start, or you see their kid and it's their first time in the race car, and it's amazing to me to watch them get their seat time, and you see them have their first heat race win, or they're getting closer each week, and it was funny because during the hangover, we actually had one of our local guys. He was running third, and we had 2 other drivers. Shane Taylor was visiting from North Florida, and he races here from time to time. And then there was another driver out front, and all of us in the tower are going crazy because Jimbo's in third place, and we're like, come on, Jimbo. And we're screaming. I mean, he's one of our guys, you know. And, the Florida-Georgia Brawl they just had, they did a phenomenal job with that race. It's, a couple years
Joe
in the
Belkey
making.
wins 2 years in a row, another Florida driver, 2 years in a row winning at Waycross. Yeah.
And if he makes a phenomenal race car, he literally, I mean, they're beautiful. Him and his wife, have done a great job with building those cars over the years. And he's Volusia's his home track.
Well, we were hanging out at 100 Proof a couple of weeks ago with Debbie and all the other crazy nonsense and chaos and Davey Frantic, and the after party was not fun for me. I still say it's your fault for the donuts in the truck, but it's all good.
Listen, you can't say I don't have driving skills.
You got driving skills, and you turned my stomach. But with that being said, Jason Williams was there. And one of the things me and Jason were talking about was, Wesley, we put so much work in these Thunderstock cars, these pure stock V8 cars, these Thunder and Lightning cars, whatever you want to call them, that run the borderline brawl.
Yes.
Just as much as these guys put in these late models or modifieds.
Absolutely. And it was Jason Gamble.
Gamble. I'm sorry. Jason, I'm sorry, buddy.
That's okay. He's our 2018 Thunderstock champion here at Bubba Raceway Park, and they thrashed away to put this car together to get up there to the Brawl to represent.
That's right, because he
Bubba
literally
Raceway
told
Park.
me, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it.
And he did. They made it, and then unfortunately they ended up in a bad wreck, and now he's got a lot of work to do on his car.
Oh, wow.
Again. But I was so proud to see. We had Tony Campbell, who is here week in and week out for our Thunderstocks. Donnie Dobbins has Kevin Durden, who was born and raised here in Ocala kind of thing, who's raced here a lot, but they've traveled a lot the last couple of years. And then, Jason Gamble was up there. But there was so many Florida cars. You had the Showers. There was One Shot. I mean, it was great to see our guys go up there and do so well. Belkey, of course, brought it home 2 years in a row. That's huge. I mean, it's kind of nice to go. It's like when we go to Why Not, everybody brings your state flag, and it's a pride thing.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's a pride thing.
Isaac Chappell from Willow Branch, Indiana is listening to the show. He said, hello, thank you for the hospitality. I had a great time at Bubba Raceway Park. Looking forward to coming again. Candice is great people.
That's wonderful. This is like I said, I kind of consider this our family reunion, and we want people to make this their racecation.
Has Speed Weeks, Candice, got too far blown out of proportion, do you feel? I mean, because it feels like it started with East Bay, it started with Volusia, And then Bubba's done it for about a decade now, or almost a decade.
8 years, yeah.
They've I feel like you guys have paid your due. You've earned your right to be able to be in that spot. And one thing I like is